Okay, I was going to ask how you guys are doing, but it sounds like you guys are doing awesome today. I'm Jen, and I want to say thank you for letting me be here today. I'm really, really excited to share a little bit about myself and my story and what I do here. So I'm actually a UX designer, which is to say user experience designer. Do you guys, sorry, let's take a little long. Oh. Do you guys know what a UX or user experience designer does? No? All right. Do you know? Tell me.
Maybe like they're the ones that like take things that whoever playing the game does and like use that to like make it harder or something like that.
Yeah, so we're kind of you're on the right track. We basically kind of learn people's stories and we try to either make the experience better. So like in game design, maybe making the experience better is like creating different levels and stuff like that. So as a user experience designer, I think the way I like to define it is we like to solve problems. And that's what I like to do every single day. And the really awesome thing about what I do is I have to work with teams of people. I work with our customers, I work with my teammates, and we're basically solving problems for people. So fitting puzzles together and making experiences better. So every single day at work, I'm talking to people, and I get to work with people and with computers. So we actually get to learn people's stories and maybe where the breakpoints are, and then trying to create a better experience for them when they're using a product, an application, stuff like that. And just to do that, to talk a little bit more about it at more specific level, how I actually do user experience design is to start with sketches. So you'll see that in the background of my slides. I do a lot of sketching every day. I do a lot of wireframing, prototyping, and I use a lot of Post-its. And I start with sketches, and the reason why is to just really think about the idea that I want to present and make it really, really fast, right? I think you guys learned about prototyping and how it's really valuable to just convey an idea really quickly. So that's where I start. And then I take it to somewhere like this, which is a higher fidelity, like making it feel almost more real. But before we give it to developers to start coding it, right, we still want to test it with our customers. And so what I do is I'm actually thinking about if you're a customer using our application, how would you want to use our application? What problem are we solving for you? And how can I make that experience better? So what I'm showing up here, it's just screenshots. It's just something that I did for fun on the side. It's not an actual product that I work on. So these are just some more screenshots. And so I wanted to share a little bit about some of the companies I've been with and what I've done for them. So I know I talked about user experience designers being like working with computers and stuff like that, but it's not just laptops or mobile devices, right? I actually got to work with NASA on a really cool project, and we were basically solving a problem for astronauts on the International Space Station. And so you can imagine in the ISS, they are in zero gravity, and they're doing a lot of science projects, right? And so our researchers on Earth are sending up their procedures, and our astronauts have to actually look at them on a computer to figure out, what is it they're doing. And so the problem arises when the astronauts are going to the computer, which is mounted on a wall, and then reading step one, walking back to their station, their research station, doing step one, going back to the computer, and then reading step two. So you can imagine that's not very efficient. Right? And so NASA tasked my team to see how we can make the procedure execution for astronauts a lot more efficient and faster. And so, like I said, I don't really do my job in a silo. Like I have to go out there and I have to talk to people. And this project really brought me to a lot of cool places. We got to talk to deep sea divers, we got to talk to pilots, we got to talk to race car drivers. And basically we were looking for people who experience the same things that astronauts do, right? So like, for example, working alone, having to execute procedures. And we learned a lot of their stories, and then we came up with a solution, or prototyping solution, for our astronauts. And what that is it was a head-mounted display, similar to Google Glass, and we voice command it. So they could basically say, I think our product was called Novo, go to step 2, and then the screen would change in front of them. So they have these glasses on, and they're in their station, and they can actually just work here and not have to go back and forth, right, to the computer. So that's just to say, like, user experience design is not just for like computers and laptops, it's all types of technologies. as long as you're solving a problem. And at Intuit, do you guys know who Intuit is? What they do? They're the makers of TurboTax and QuickBooks. So when I was working at Intuit, I actually worked with small business owners. So as a small business owner, you have to have tools that help you run your business, and I specifically worked with payroll. So what I did there was really help design a product that allowed business owners to pay their employees quicker and also take the taxes out of their everyday life. Because as a small business owner, what do you want to do? Like if you own a bakery, you really just want to go back to like making cakes and making cupcakes and muffins or whatever, and that's because that's your passion, right? Your passion isn't paying employees, but that's just part of the work that you do. So part of my work is to help kind of streamline that workflow and like make it more efficient for them so they can get back to what they love doing. And now I work at Nitro, and Nitro is actually a startup in San Francisco, and I've only been there for about 3 weeks, but they're really, really awesome. And what they do is they think about how they can accelerate. Do you guys know what PDFs are? Yes? I think I heard yes. So PDFs are basically a way for you to read information on a computer. So you've probably opened up like web pages that have PDFs. It just looks like a Microsoft Word document. So we're just accelerating the way people work with PDFs there. And across all these jobs, whether it's NASA or Intuit or Nitro, what I'm really, really doing is my job allows me to make things more efficient for people when they're interacting with computers, and then that way they can go back to doing what they love to do or what they need to do. So anywho, just to sum it all up, a user experience designer is really someone who loves to listen to stories. They love to identify problems and like actually break points in someone's story and actually see how we can create something that would benefit that person. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
In the future, what will you doing?
In the future, what will you be doing?
In the future, as a user experience designer, like you mean in the future?
What do you want to do?
What do I want to do after? I think for me, I'll share this a little bit later, but it took me a whole bunch of different tries to actually find what user experience design is. And I'm at a place where I love doing UX design so much that I think for me, if I'm thinking like 2, 3 years, 5 years out, I just want to continue playing and perfecting my skill as a designer. And there's so many ways you could do that, especially with the rise in technology and how much quicker they're allowing us to do things, right? Okay. Thanks for the question. Okay, so I'll actually kind of answer a little bit about how I got here. When I actually think it was kind of an accident that I got here. I came through like continual learning and curiosity, and when I was in school, like I was, whenever, like middle school, elementary school, all the way through high school, college, I really enjoyed social sciences, English, and arts, right? I never really excelled at math or science. I was able to do those things, but they weren't the things that I really enjoyed. But the reason why I loved English or history was really because I enjoyed reading stories. I enjoyed hearing stories and learning from them, right? And that's kind of why I think I really love my job right now. And thinking back to being in the social sciences, I think that's kind of, I learned the ability to work within the gray areas, right? Nothing's ever black or white in social sciences and history and English. Like, you have to really feel comfortable, like, working in the gray areas, I think, as a designer. And you have to really think about who you're solving the problem for, but at the same time, you can't solve 100% of the problems for 100% of people. So really being able to communicate and talk to everyone and really like straddle that gray area, I think, is something that helps me be good at what I do. I remember in the evenings, like around 6th grade, 4th grade, I used to really love drawing when I was at home. I like drew on the walls, I drew on my hands, I drew on anything that I could. And I remember being in 4th grade and really, really like begging my parents to get me a computer. I can't even remember how I knew about computers then, but I was begging them to get me a computer, but instead they got me a typewriter. Huh? Yeah. So they got me a typewriter, and all I could do was, type on it. If you just imagine a computer without the screen. So I just kind of used it to like try to type faster. It's like challenging myself to games and stuff. And that actually helped me when I got my computer the year after. I was in 6th grade. I finally got a compact Pisario, and I was able to type so fast. And I actually remember discovering AOL and dial-up internet. Do you guys know what dial-up internet is? I'm hearing I'm looking at and seeing some confusion and seeing some hands. So dial-up internet, like today we have Wi-Fi, right? It's like everything is just not connected. But the days of dial-up, you actually had to hook your computer up into the phone line. So every time I was on the internet, yeah.
My teacher talks about it. He said that you can either be on the internet or on the phone. So if you're on the internet, then you couldn't, like, if a phone call came, you wouldn't be able to.
Exactly. So she was saying exactly what dial-up is. It's you're either on the internet or you're on the phone, right? You can't do together at the same time, which is today we actually can. So I used dial-up internet. I signed up for AOL. My mom was like not getting any more phone calls, and she didn't know why, and it's because I was blocking the lines all the time because I was always online. I was talking to my friends online. I was reading a lot of articles on Yahoo. I don't think Google existed at this point yet. So it was amazing, like so much information just at my fingertips, and I was like hooked. And around this time, I actually discovered Photoshop. So have you guys heard of Photoshop? No? Okay, so Photoshop is, it's a program that allows you to change pictures and manipulate pictures and stuff. So I got really hooked because my friends and I had a whole bunch of pictures. I would scan it in because we didn't have like, phones that actually took pictures and were digital already. I had to scan in the pictures, and then I would put it into Photoshop, and then I'd want to, like, let's say we were at the beach. I wanted to erase the background of the beach, and I want to put us into space or something like that. So I spent a lot of time like manipulating pictures on Photoshop when I was younger. And this was around the time I learned about GeoCities. And GeoCities is no longer around, but it was just a website that let us make our own websites. It's like WordPress, or yeah. So I spent a lot of time learning HTML, and I learned how to code a little. And my first websites looked like this. It was pretty bad, but you got to start somewhere. I had like a lot of blinking stars, had pictures in front, had really neon text. And I actually just put this together for the presentation, but I'm pretty sure my first websites looked worse than this. But I mean, I had to get started somewhere, right? And even with like HTML, which is a programming, I figured like the part that actually got me most interested was like I spent a lot of time like just changing the colors of fonts, placing pictures. Like the design portion of it was where I actually found myself going into flow and like losing track of time. And that was around 6th to 8th grade. I did that for a few years, and then I went to high school. And when I got to high school, we actually had like volunteering, service clubs, social clubs. And what I did was I was able to actually make websites for them. So by the time I got to high school, my coding abilities, and I'm by no means like a developer, but I was able to actually create very, very simple websites with like navigation for a lot of the social clubs on our campus. So it just kind of gave me a way to one, continue my designs, because you have to design like how the website looks. You have to think about how you present the information and how people can get through it, and then you can actually put it up using HTML. By the time I graduated college, I went to college and I graduated my undergrad at UC San Diego, and I was a history major, and I also minored in chemistry and sociology. So I did everything because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But I was the first in my family to go to college, and my parents, being immigrants, they only knew like, you had to be a doctor, you had to be a lawyer, you had to be a pharmacist. And I was just thinking about all the stuff I love to do, and those things just weren't it. So I knew I didn't want to be those things, but I didn't know what I wanted to be. So how I kind of figured it out was just trial and error, right? I did a lot of random jobs. So this first one right here on this side is I actually did accounting for a while. I was in accounts payables. And then I went over here and I worked in human resources. And then for some time, I also volunteered at an aquarium. So I did a lot of random things. And I think each of those experiences really taught me about myself, what I liked to do and what I didn't like to do, right? And when I was in human resources, I spoke to one of my coworkers. I actually was teaching people how to use computers. I taught people how to use Excel. I used to work at the library at UC San Diego, and so I taught people how to use Excel. And one of my coworkers came up to me, and he told me about this program called Human-Computer Interaction. And being first in my family to go to college, I didn't really know what professions were out there, and then he told me about this, and it was just so exciting. I went on the internet, I looked it up, figured out what jobs were there. So like user experience designer is one of those positions. And before that, I had never heard of this job before, like no idea. And so I kind of just stumbled into it and kind of found out on accident. And I looked into it. I went to school there for a year. It was a year program. I learned so much. There was a beautiful mix of like design and technology, computers, people, like all the things that I really, really loved. And that 1 year, I did not sleep. There's just too much going on. Like I slept 2 hours a night. I could barely process things, but it was probably the best time I ever had. And after I had done that, so after I had gone to school there, I actually came out, graduated, and then I was working on a project with NASA, and then into it, and now I'm at Nitro. So that's kind of how I found out about design as a field. I think looking back when I was younger, I knew I loved design, I knew I loved drawing, but I didn't know what the heck I could do with that, right? At some point, I was like, maybe I could be an art curator, but that wasn't me. So I'm just really, really happy that I was able to find this field that, one, allows me to continue to like build my skill in design, but more importantly, it helps me help other people solve some of the problems in their lives, right? And what I learned looking back through all of the stuff that I'd done is one, don't be afraid. I remember a time in my life where I wouldn't ask any questions. I was always too afraid. But now I've learned that asking questions is really, really beneficial. And by asking one question, you learn something so much quicker than trying to research it yourself. So I have like no fear asking questions anymore. And another one is don't stop learning. So even as a designer, I don't think I would ever be able to learn everything that can be learned. And if I did, then that's like time for me to figure out something else I need to learn, right? So learning and curiosity are so important for growth and just for fun, I think. And then the last one is take risks. So when I was working in human resources and my coworker told me about this program, I was so scared. I went back to school and I was like, am I ever going to find a job? I don't know. It was really scary. But looking back, it was really worth it. So I would say, don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be scared and never stop learning. And that, I think, is it. Thanks. Do you guys have questions?
One right over here.
Okay.
On your left. Yep.
Oh. Hi.
Can you show us one of your designs?
What?
Can you show us one of your designs, like for
One of my designs?
problem?
Sorry, we went to the beginning again. I could only show what was on my PowerPoint. But sorry. I have some more if you go onto my website, but I could give you that later. Yeah.
Where were you born?
I was born in Los Angeles. So my mom came from Cambodia, my dad came from Vietnam, and they met in Los Angeles, and I was born there. I only left California 2 years, one to live in Pittsburgh when I went to grad school, and one when I was in college, I went to Italy to live in Rome for a bit. Yeah. Yes?
What college did you go to?
Oh, okay, so for undergrad, I went to UC San Diego, and for graduate school, I went to Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh.
Okay, another one on your left, right here in the front.
Oh, yeah.
How old are you?
I am, take a guess.
27?
close. 20, oh God, I think I'm 29. I don't even remember anymore. Yeah.
What do you enjoy to do? Like what do you enjoy?
Oh, what do I enjoy to do? I enjoy, so on the weekends, I love going hiking. I really, really love that because I work in digital. Like I work on computers all the time. I like to just be away from computers for a little bit of time, so I love hiking. I love taking pictures. And I just love being like, hanging out with my friends at dinner.
All right, right over here.
Yeah.
You said you work with computers, right? Is there any other type of technology that you use and what you work with?
Other technologies that I use or work with? I think a lot of things are computers. So I work with like different types of computers, like mobile phones and laptops. I work with like desktop applications or creating websites, web applications. I think not so much other tools. I think if I was not working with a computer, I would be trying to make something with my hands, like building a bookshelf or building a table, which I really want to do out of pallets or something like that. So, yeah.
Over here?
Yeah.
What will you do in the future again?
I think I would just practice what I do now and just continue to be better at it. Yeah, I think there was a question here. Oh, yeah. Yeah. My color, favorite color. I really like red. And I'd also really like green. But I think I like red more.
All right, right here in the back.
Yeah.
What are you good at?
What am I good at? That's really hard. I guess that'll just depend on how I feel at the moment. But right now, I think I'm good at hiking, I guess.
And some of the other things you told us about too, like solving problems,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
Great.
If you knew about your job before you went to college, do you think anything would be different?
If I did a better job before I went to
Like,
college?
If you knew what job you would have?
Oh, yes. That's a great question. I think about that a lot. One of my regrets is not being able to find this field earlier. So that thing I said about always ask questions, that's what I would totally change if I go back to 8th grade or high school. I would ask more questions. I would try to figure out what I wanted to do. And I actually went, when I was in college at UC San Diego, I went to the Career Center and I looked at a lot of different jobs just to see what's out there. And I never saw this job. And like I said, I feel like I came here by accident because someone had told me about it. So if I were to change something, I would go back and I would ask more questions and so that I could find this field earlier. And one more thing that is starting to come up that I actually never knew, there are some colleges that have a program called co-ops. And what that really means is you're in school for about 6 months, and then for another 6 months, you're actually out and working in a workplace, like at Intuit or at Nitro or at NASA. You're actually doing work, and if there was something I could go back and do, I'd probably look for something that allowed me to try a lot of different jobs and then figure out what's for me and what's not.
All right, right here in the back.
Yeah.
What would you change about your job to make it better for you?
What would I change about my job to make it better? That's a hard one. I think off the top of my head, I would probably just try to talk to, I would want a little bit more time so I could just spend more time with the customers that we solve the problems for. Sometimes deadlines run up and I'm I can't talk to the people that I really want to. So a lot of the things I do, like creating prototypes, the reason why we create prototypes is so we can actually put it in front of people and get their feedback and kind of their input, from what I design. So I think something I would change is, and I think this might be true anywhere you go, it's just being able to build it a little bit more time so I can show the prototypes to more people.
Great. Over here?
Yeah, okay.
Did you have good grades in middle school?
I was okay. I remember being a perfectionist, maybe kindergarten through about 6th grade. And I don't know what happened to me in 6th grade, but my writing got sloppy. My grades were still decent. I wasn't like an honor student or anything like that. But I became less of a perfectionist. Yeah, average. I was pretty average, grade-wise. Grade-wise. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How did your parents feel about the profession?
About what? The profession I chose? That's okay. So her question was, how did my parents feel about the profession that I chose? And it's funny because I don't think my parents really know what I do, and it's really hard to communicate it with them. It's funny because I finished undergrad school and I was working for a little bit, and then after 3 years of working, I told my parents, I was like, hey, I'm going to go back to school. And my parents were like, no, don't go back to school. You have a great job. Just stay here. You'll be fine. You know, you're set. And I was like, no. I have to go. Like, I love my coworkers here, but I feel like I could have done more. And so that's another thing about taking risks. So I took the risk and I went to school, and my mom didn't think I would actually do it. So she's like, on my day of my graduation, she was like, I can't believe you actually went back to school and you're done. But to this day, I don't think she knows I do design, but I don't think they really know exactly what that means. And it's really hard to communicate that, unfortunately.
All right, we're on this side over here.
Okay,
What's it like at your job?
what is it like to draw?
No, at your job. What is it like at your job?
Oh, yeah. So if I were to think about like a day in my job, I work really closely with product managers and developers. So developers are like my teammates who are actually coding a lot of the designs and like building it, right? They make it real. And my product managers really help like know the customers, and they know how like what requirements and what problems we're trying to solve. So every day it's I think if I were to be very specific about it, I'd have like meetings with them. We would sketch together. A lot of what I do is like we'll try to solve a problem, and it's like trying to talk less about it and actually show it. So I would sketch a lot, and then we would talk about, can we do this? Can we not do this? Of course, and then sharing that with customers. So sometimes we have customer sessions where I get to share the prototypes with them, whether it's over the phone, because they might be in a different country or a different state, or they come into our office and we can actually talk to them in person and share the prototypes then. Yeah.
What is your favorite book and or series?
Book? Okay, oh my gosh, easy. Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter.
Great answer. Over here. Oh, this side in the back.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you weren't a UX designer, what would you be?
If I wasn't a UX designer, what would I be? Oh my gosh, I remember when I was really young, this is like second grade, I think my whole thing in life was, I really want to help people. And so when I was in second grade, I remember wanting to be the president because I could help everyone. But yeah. So I think now, what would I be other than this? I think I would actually be a small business owner. I'd like to like own a restaurant or a coffee shop because I love making things with my hands. So
Great. Over here?
yeah.
What's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal? Do you guys know what a red panda is? Yes, it would be a red panda.
All right, all the way in the back on your left.
Yeah.
Yep.
What happened to the coworker who introduced you to UX designing?
He is still working at UC San Diego. So after I graduated from UC San Diego, I did a few jobs, and I went back and I worked in human resources, and that's where I met him, and he's still working there. Yeah.
In your school days, who inspired you to try your hardest? So who's like your inspiration?
I think it wasn't just one person. I think it was like my friends around me. That really, like, I actually think one of the reasons why I went to college were like some of the friends around me. Since I was the first one to go to college, I didn't even know like there was an application process, didn't know how to take tests. So like looking at them and being like, oh, I have to do what they're doing, it kind of helped me. It kind of inspired me, and like having them around when, you know, like 2 a.m. at night studying for a chemistry test was really helpful.
All right, right here in the front.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of being a UX designer?
I think my favorite part is definitely, so I kind of see UX design as like a service. a service job. Like I'm solving problems, and so like that is my favorite part. Like I feel like I'm helping people, and I think that's what is my favorite part about being a UX designer. Yeah.
Oh.
I do. I have one brother, and he's younger than me, and I think he's in accounting right now. Yeah.
Okay, over here.
Where's your favorite place to eat? Where's your favorite place to eat?
Say that again.
Where's your favorite place to eat?
My favorite place to eat? Okay. Oh, this is so bad, but I really love McDonald's. I'm seeing some excitement and I'm hearing some oohs. It's mixed. Yeah.
Can you give an example of an interface whose user experience you would like to improve?
An interface?
Yeah,
that-
any interface you have come across.
Like, so you want me to give an example of interface that I think can be improved?
Yes.
I think a lot of interfaces can be improved in like different ways. I guess like there are some minimal ones and like some really hugely improved ones. Let's see. Should know off the top of my head one, but I don't have one. Let me
We can come back to that if you think of one.
Okay.
All right, I've got another question over here.
Oh, yeah.
When is your birthday?
March 20th, first day of spring. I'm still thinking about I'm starting to think like any government website could be improved. So like, yeah. Or like, AT&T or Verizon websites. They're really hard to use, I think. Okay.
I'm curious how much time you spend on a project, and then do you have your own office, or do you just go into the office of the people that you're working with?
Yeah, so I think the time spent on projects really varies. It depends on how big the scope is. So it could be anywhere from like 2 weeks to like 2 months. I personally like to wrap up projects quickly because I find that if I like drag it on, I get kind of bored. So I'm like, let's get it done. So anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. And do I have an office? No, I don't have an office. I like to sit co-located, so like co-located with like my PMs and my developers. So I just kind of turn around and everyone's there. We could just start talking. So you'll find generally that we don't really have offices. Yeah, and I actually prefer it that way, like low cube walls or no cube walls at all. Yeah.
Okay, back up here we go.
How did you deal with being discouraged?
How did I what?
How did you deal with being discouraged?
Discouraged? Oh, good question. I think anytime I felt discouraged or I felt like someone was like not really believing in me, I think I would go the opposite extreme and be like, I'll show you, and then I would, try to work on that. So, yeah.
All right, over here.
Who's your favorite artist?
Artist? My favorite artist. I don't know right now. Off the top of, there are so many. I'm thinking of cartoons right now that I really like, but I can't think of one right now.
What kind of art is your favorite? What type of art?
What kind of art did I like? This is really interesting, but I actually really like Gothic art. I don't know if you guys know what Gothic art is, but I study a little bit of art history, and Gothic art was really having to do with like religion. But the reason why I really loved it was because there are always stories in there that I could actually understand and see, like lots of symbolism and stuff like that. So I think Gothic art for me was the easiest to like figure out, tease out the stories, and that's why I actually really like it.
Great, we've got another question up here.
When did you realize you like to draw?
Like if I were to be really like aware of it, I don't really know, but I know that I started drawing at like a young age. I remember being like 3 years old and I turned to the wall and I had a sticker on the wall and I'd like color the stickers and draw all over it. So when I started liking to draw was just like from forever, but when did I become aware that I like to draw? I'm not sure, probably around like middle school time. Yeah.
Do you still do anything to explore your other subject interests, like history or like ELA and stuff like that?
Which one? What are the?
Like, do you still do things to explore your other subject interests, like history and like ELA and stuff like that?
Yeah, history. I think it just comes and goes. Like sometimes there's like a really interesting historic article, and I'll read that. Art history, I love going to museums. Actually, something that I also really love to do is I love going to libraries, and that's kind of where I love. So like I said, I work with digital things so often that I love going to the libraries because I could pick out a book and I could feel it, and I could open the pages, and I can just like sit there and read about anything, whether it's like an art history book or a history book on World War II, or yeah. Uh-huh.
What technology do you currently work with?
What technology do I currently work with? Like a programming technology or?
Yeah, a programming technology.
Yeah.
Maybe what kind of programs do you use in a day-to-day basis when
Oh, okay.
you're kind of doing your job and doing your
I
design
see.
stuff?
I use a lot of like prototyping software, so I don't actually use Photoshop that much anymore because I don't manipulate photos, but I create like how a program would look. So to do that, I use Sketch, I use Envision, I use Axure. So like I said, I build prototypes, and to build a prototype, you have to make it look really real. Otherwise, people are not going to give you the same reactions they otherwise would. So I use Axure to do that. Yeah.
What's your favorite Disney movie?
Aladdin.
All right, we have one more over here on your left.
Okay.
What type of elementary school do you went to?
What kind of elementary school did I go to? I went to an elementary school in Los Angeles. It was K through 8, and it was called Ramona. It was in the city I grew up in, which is Alhambra, somewhere in Los Angeles County. Yeah.
All right, another question back here.
Okay.
What's your favorite villain?
My favorite villain? What's her name? Maleficent.
All right, any last
Okay.
questions from the audience here? Amazing questions.
I know. I'm really
last
enjoying
questions?
it. Oh, and I forgot to say, like, I'll be around, so if you guys want to ask more questions, please feel free to come up and ask me questions. And yeah.
I have one
Okay.
final question, so I'll come up and
Sure.
join us for a second. So my last question for you then is, what kind of advice, if you had to give these amazing young women in the room today some advice, some parting words, because you've given them lots to think about,
Yeah.
what would be your advice for them as they're moving forward in their academics and in their careers?
Like my life philosophy is just do it. So I really would just say, just try everything. Even if you're just a little bit interested, just try it. You might find that it's something that you love, or you might find it's something you don't like, you know, and only in trying it will you really, really know and learn firsthand what it is you want to do. So just do it.
Great, thank you so much. Big round of applause for Jen, thank you.